What's good, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. Today's video is going to be a super chill, laid back Q&A. I've been wanting to do this for a while now. I haven't done a Q&A with you guys, like just sit down, like just me, in months. So it's finally time for me to sit down and answer some questions from you guys. I asked you guys to ask me some questions on Instagram, so we're just going to get right into it. But before we do, I want to thank today's video sponsor, which is Squarespace. You guys know I love working with Squarespace. I work with them a lot. I think I worked with them in the last video too, but that's because they are the perfect one-stop shop for you to build an online presence, which you guys know I'm all about. So whether you want to start a business and you need help with marketing tools and analytics, or you're just trying to create an online presence for you and your personal brand, Squarespace is the place for you. They have so many features that will help you with your journey. So if you, for example, are a content creator and you're trying to find a place to connect all of your accounts, Squarespace makes it super easy for you to connect all of your accounts in one place and display them and share out with people on one link. They also have amazing analytics features. So if you're starting your own business and you're trying to market yourself and put yourself out there, Squarespace has a lot of marketing and analytics tools that makes it super easy to collect insights and gather data on your business and see how your marketing campaigns are performing. And they also have a really cool feature called member areas, which is basically a way for you to connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members only content. It's a very easy to use all-in-one platform, and I've actually been considering using it myself, so look out for that in case I do end up doing that. So yeah, thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. If you guys want to get 10% off of your first purchase with them, you guys can use my link in the description box down below. And that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. That was a really loud clap. I'm really sorry. Oh, this one's really sweet. Someone asked, how are you doing mentally? I can tell you've had an overload recently, and I just want to know if you're okay. It's really sweet. Thank you for asking how I'm doing. Honestly, it's kind of weird that y'all know. Like, sometimes I feel like y'all just know how I'm feeling, even though I'm not like making it obvious that I've been like kind of out of it or down, but I definitely have been feeling a little bit overwhelmed and just like not really motivated recently. I do feel like I am bouncing back now, which is why I'm filming this video. This video is supposed to go up like days ago, and I'm just now filming it, but it's fine. Like, I've been feeling tired, like physically, but also mentally. And I think for me, like, especially when it comes to content, I'm super used to constantly going and just creating and expressing myself through my content. And lately I just have not been feeling as inspired and as like motivated, but I feel myself kind of getting back to normal and like kind of feeling like myself again. I don't want to tie up my self-worth into my productivity, but at the same time, like, I feel my best when I am constantly creating and just putting things out there, even if it's not 100% perfect. So I'm just kind of like trying to figure out that balance between quality and quantity, and like figuring out what level of productivity feels the most healthy for me. I also have been realizing that like I really have a lot that I really want to and need to heal from. That I just have been pushing aside for so many years for the sake of putting work first. And so I'm just trying to give myself more room to actually address how I'm feeling. So yeah, that was a really long answer, but overall I'm doing better. I'm definitely doing a lot better than I was last week. So a lot of you guys asked for advice for anyone who wants to start creating content. I definitely have made a lot of videos on this in the past. I definitely recommend you guys go watch. I have a playlist actually on my channel, and it's called My Journey to Becoming a Full-Time Content Creator. So I have like a lot of day in the life of a content creator videos, but I also have like advice videos like on growth on different platforms and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend you guys go check out that playlist if you guys want some good advice that I've kind of shared in the past. But one thing that I will always tell people is the more that you kind of make content and content creation about an extension of yourself rather than like a job, at least for me, that's kind of how I see it. Like, when you start looking at it that way, I personally think that you will start to be more successful. Explore what you enjoy about it, have fun with it, like fall in love with the actual craft of doing it, and everything else will fall into place. Like, yes, you want to, you know, eventually monetize so you can make this your full-time job, like, and find financial freedom through content creation. I totally get that. But I do recommend people always just like fall in love with the craft first, fall in love with the journey. Like, if you guys go look at my old videos, this has been a fucking journey. Like, I have not always been great at this, but the fun part about this in this journey is learning and getting better and constantly trying to outperform yourself, right? It's like you're always gonna see a bunch of other people doing this too, but focus on your own journey, focus on yourself, and focus on what excites you about this journey. Like, what makes your heart excited about content creation. Really, really dive into that. And don't be afraid to be vulnerable and transparent, like through your content. That's another really big piece of advice. I feel like a lot of people, like I think past generations of YouTubers and like, you know, makeup creators and fashion and stuff like that, a lot of that has been very like surface level and material, like, you know, like you're sharing about you doing makeup. You're not talking about your feelings and what trauma you're going through, right? And you don't necessarily have to talk about your trauma and your spirituality and your healing and like what's going on with you mentally to be successful as a content creator. But I do think what more people need in this world is people being transparent and people who are willing to be vulnerable. So I do recommend, if you are trying to create content and you're thinking about how you're doing it, just don't be afraid to be vulnerable and don't be afraid to open up, because more people will relate to you than you think. And the second that I started being vulnerable on my channel is really when I started to see people connect with me and my content. And I was actually very, very surprised by how many people were going through a lot of the same things as me. So yeah, that's my advice. Sorry, that was a really long answer as well. So some of you guys asked about how I stay motivated. I think for me, motivation really comes from me knowing that my purpose, like where my purpose lies, right? Like for me, I really feel connected with, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I feel very, very connected with what I believe my purpose is. And in times when I don't feel the most motivated, or times when I'm really like wondering like, why am I doing what I'm doing? I always go back to this piece of paper that I have. It's literally hanging up on my wall. And it basically like outlines like what my mission is, what I think my purpose is with my content and everything that I'm doing, even beyond content, and basically like what I want to do to make a difference in this world. So I think for me, what really keeps me motivated is coming back to this mission of helping other people. And then of course, when I start to see like DMs from you guys and messages and comments from you guys telling me that my videos have made a difference in your day or in your week, or just helped you look at things differently or start questioning things, like that for me is what really, really keeps me motivated. So whenever I'm feeling down or like unsure of what I'm doing, I look at my piece of paper with my mission on it. I go and answer and read some DMs from you guys or some messages, and that's what really keeps me going. So a few of you guys asked for advice on anyone who is maybe procrastinating or is too scared to put out their first video or piece of content, or just to start something for the first time. And I will honestly say that, like, I've said this before, I have talked about this like a lot in a video called For Anyone Afraid to Start Something New. But you know, when it comes to starting something, first of all, I will say procrastination usually is rooted in fear. And if you find yourself like fearing or like being scared to start something new or to put yourself out there, I always say like really sit down with yourself and observe where those fears come from. Like really understand like what limiting beliefs you maybe have around your idea of success and what you think you can actually do, like how successful you can actually be, and really sit down and observe and explore that. So for me, like I had a lot of limiting beliefs, and someone actually asked me about this, like what limiting beliefs you had around content creation. I had a lot of limiting beliefs thinking that if I opened up and actually made content that was true to me, and if I was transparent and vulnerable online, then the people in my life who knew me were gonna judge me. And that was a big, big limiting belief that really, really held me back from putting myself out there and actually making content that was true to me. But the more that I sat with that and really observed that, the more I kind of started to realize that it's like, at the end of the day, yes, that's true. The more vulnerable you are, the more you put yourself out there, the more you give room for people to judge you. But I also started realizing like that in itself it doesn't really hold a lot of power over me, right? Like other people's opinions of me are 9 times out of 10 usually just a reflection of themselves, right? And so if people in my life are judging me or are looking at me a certain way for being transparent online or being myself online, then that's on them, right? Like that doesn't really have anything to do with me. And so that all to say, if you find yourself scared to put yourself out there and start a YouTube channel or start a business or whatever, just really sit down with yourself and observe what limiting beliefs are holding you back. Maybe sit with a therapist and really learn about your childhood and learn about wounds that you maybe have from your childhood. Because I know for me, a lot of social anxiety that I had and a lot of my fear around other people judging me came from a lot of childhood wounds that I had. For me, I grew up in an environment where I just felt like I didn't fit in, like anywhere in school, in my family. So I felt very, very isolated as a child. So I always felt like people were judging me. I always was like overthinking what other people were thinking about me. I had a lot of social anxiety. So a lot of that contributed to my fears around making content, right? So I really, really encourage you. It's gonna sound really silly. Start to see that as an extension of your spiritual journey. And again, really observe where your fears are coming from, where your limiting beliefs are coming from, and really just dissect them so you can really understand that like they don't have to hold power over you, right? Like you're gonna have them. You're always gonna have fears. I still have fears every single day around doing this, but like they don't hold as much power over me because the more I observe them, the more I'm like, that comes from this place and that's not true. So I'm not gonna listen to this. Like I'm not gonna buy into it. You know what I mean? So hopefully that helps. How do you make time for pursuing hobbies while working 2 jobs and having a boyfriend? I've kind of talked about this in the past before, but honestly, I just haven't. Like I have not done a great job of prioritizing myself and my passions outside of content. Honestly in the past year or so, because for me, I was working my 9 to 5, but I was also doing content. And for me, that was my passion. So that's like what I put all my time into. And then I put, time into my social life, the gym, taking care of myself, all that stuff. But my passion like really was content, and now content is my job. And I've kind of struggled with like figuring out like what other passions I have outside of this. But I will say I definitely have made time for things that I see as both self-care and also like a hobby, right? So for example, for me, I really, really love working out. I love lifting. The gym for me feels like a hobby, as annoying as that sounds. Like that's something that I really, really enjoy. So that for me is like, it's self-care. So I like build that into my self-care routine, my morning routine, but it's also a hobby, you know what I mean? And then same thing with yoga. Like I really, really enjoy yoga. I do it almost every morning now. So I definitely will say that I've made time for those things by implementing them into my routines, if that makes sense. But also giving myself periods of deep rest and deep work. So when I'm working, I'm just working, I'm focusing on the work. I'm not on my phone, or I'm trying not to be on my phone, not checking social media and my texts and stuff. But when I'm resting, I actually allow myself to be present in those things. Like, so for example, when I'm at the gym, when I'm working out, I'm not on my phone. I really like to try to focus on what I'm doing, like in the moment, because it really gives me more time to do the things. Okay, I'm trying to spend less time on questions so I can actually get through a lot of them. So someone asked, will you be making more finance videos? Yes, I will. I think I'm actually gonna bring back my budgeting videos. I stopped doing it for a while, but I think I wanna bring them back, so stay tuned for that. What's something you've learned these past couple of months? Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like I'm always learning things. Like I know that sounds really annoying, but I feel like every few weeks I'm learning something new about myself. I feel like I'm constantly like having like these downloads. But I will say something that I've learned recently is that there's a lot of unlearning that I need to do. And I know I've said this a lot on my channel, but I truly have realized that there's like a lot of healing and unlearning that I think I need, but I think a lot of us need, from a lot of the conditioning that we've kind of faced, and like, honestly, as dramatic as it sounds, like trauma that we face from being conditioned to be capitalist. And I think when you start realizing that a lot of things that we've been sold are lies, it takes a lot of healing and unlearning to get out of that way of thinking. We're just so conditioned to think about ourselves and our lives from like this like robotic like lens, and like this lens of like constantly like wanting more and wanting to gain more and wanting to earn more. But in reality, it's like, that's just so not natural to who we are. So I feel like detaching yourself from that way of thinking is like a full-on journey, and it requires a lot of healing. So yeah, that's just something I've been realizing lately. Someone asked, how do you take care of your mental health when you feel really low? So it really depends on the day, because there's some days when I just really want to do nothing and just watch Love Island and distract myself and just not think about how I'm feeling when I'm not feeling my best, because it just feels easier sometimes to distract myself. And when I really want to do that, I will actually allow myself to do that. But usually what actually helps me when I'm not feeling my best is getting down on my yoga mat and really just giving myself room to feel what I'm feeling. So for me, that means going through my stretches. I just stretch like intuitively and just like do whatever feels right, observing where I'm holding any trauma or tension or stress, and giving myself like very long, deep belly breaths. And usually from there, I can kind of sense like, okay, this is what's going on. This is why I'm not feeling my best. I usually will have like thoughts come up, or maybe they'll pass, but thoughts that kind of like tend to come up and linger, I usually will go and like listen to them, and then maybe I will sit with them and like meditate on them. I'll journal a little bit. That's what usually, I have a whole video like on this if you guys wanna go watch like and see like exactly what I'm talking about. But doing that kind of routine, even though it feels like a little bit extra and it feels like a routine, it feels like work to do it, when I just force myself to get on my mat and do it, I always end up feeling better. Like 9 times out of 10, I feel better. Even if I have to cry and really just feel what I'm feeling, and even if I leave my mat still not knowing what's going on with me, usually I still end up feeling a little bit better when I do that. I do like to smoke sometimes too. That really helps me. A lot of you guys ask me if I smoke. I do smoke. And that helps me too, because that really gives me room to kind of like sit and really observe like what I need from myself. And sometimes when I smoke, I find that I really just want to go watch a movie, and so I go do that, right? But like I just kind of give myself room to really listen to my body. And 9 times out of 10, again, when I go and do the yoga mat and the stretching and that whole little routine, I'm better able to listen to my body and really better able to understand what I need. Someone asked, are your parents supportive of you being an influencer? Yes, they actually are really, really supportive. I think at first my parents were like a little bit confused, like, what are you doing? Like, I just think like older generations don't understand this and like this being a job as much. So I think for them, they always just saw it as like something that I do on like on the side as like a passion. But when they started to see how much money I was making from it, I think they were kind of like, okay, cool, like keep going, you know what I mean? Like obviously they're really supportive before that, but I think they started to realize like, okay, this isn't actually like a job. And I really started like showing them like more and more people who are doing this like full time, like giving them examples and stuff, and they became really supportive. So yeah, they're awesome when it comes to me doing this. Do you think you would venture out to starting a business when you start getting even more bigger? That's a great question. I actually have been considering doing that, and I actually do have some plans for some things that I do want to start. I've always been really into entrepreneurship, and I've started businesses in the past. And for me now, I'm at a place where I really know that whatever businesses I start, I want them to help you guys and be helpful for you and really pertain to like what I'm doing now, but also just like be an extension of my content. So I definitely do have some things that I have in the works that I have coming out in the very near future that I think will be really helpful for you guys. I know a few of you guys have asked if I plan to do coaching or if I plan to do like one-on-one sessions again in the future, and I probably will. But again, stay tuned for that, because it's definitely gonna be, there's gonna be like levels. You guys will see. There's some stuff coming. I got y'all. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. But again, entrepreneurship, I've always really been into, and I do see myself like even further out in the future, starting like even bigger businesses. I just have so many ideas. I have so many things that I wanna do, but I don't wanna talk about them yet because I just don't feel ready yet. So, but yeah, that's it for the Q&A, you guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if I did not respond to your question in the video, do be on the lookout, because I will respond to you guys on Instagram. I do really appreciate every single one of you who have asked me questions, who have sent me a DM, who have commented, who have liked. All of your support. You guys have no idea how much it means to me, and I know I say this like in every video at this point, but I really appreciate and love you guys, and I really like connecting with you guys in any way that I can. So do be patient with me. I'm really, really shitty about DMs right now, so thank you guys for your patience if you guys have been waiting for a response from me. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will be sure to see you. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.